Welcome back to the Fitness League, helping busy humans build strong bodies, sharper minds, and better lives. Join us each week as we cut through the noise, challenge the norms, and empower you to train smarter and live stronger. How are you guys getting in so many steps a day? I'm just getting started with everything, but when I hear moms say things like, I never sit down, or I don't have time to slow down, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. When my toddler says, when I'm sitting with my toddler and playing with her too, we run around, go for walks together, do the chores, but I'm not hitting 10 to 12,000 steps like ever, which is fine. But how do you get so many steps? What does a day look like for each of you as far as movement outside of workouts? We'll be diving into this question, quite a few more in today's Q&A episode.
Wait
but first,
look what I got on my wrist today.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks. We never said we were going to get each other gifts, and then
we're in a period of spend zero money, and he
yells at me every time I spend money, and then he comes out with a whoop this morning, and I'm
this sounds like the gazebo story, doesn't it?
Whoa.
It certainly does. It certainly sounds very similar to
a bit of a price differential between the gazebo and the whoop. Did I tell the gazebo story on the podcast?
You have to tell it. Go ahead.
Okay, so quickly, we are, like Josh said, in a period of just like weird trying to not spend money because everything right now is just getting reinvested into the businesses. And Brant the other day is complaining like, I hate our mattress. We need a new mattress. Once Project B launches and like we're making money again, basically, we're getting a new mattress. And he comes to me like 2-3 hours later and is like, so don't get me a Father's Day present this year. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because I bought a gazebo for the backyard, or like, pergola, like whatever you want to call it. And so very similarly, so I did not, in fact, get him a Father's Day gift. I was like, okay, like fine, we're not spending money. That was the gift, here it is. And Josh pulled the same thing on Alessandra this morning.
He always does this though. Like we're not
doing gifts.
He's been telling me to not spend money for probably like 3 years now. So I haven't gotten him gifts for like so many things. And then here he comes with like this thing that I may have mentioned I wanted, but I am really excited.
The best gift you could give me is the anxiety relief of you not spending money. That is the best. That's the only gift that I want. I started thinking like a necklace or like, I don't know. You're not gonna wear a necklace or jewelry or whatever. I'm like, you're gonna wear this. You're gonna get so much more value from this whoop. So that was.
I will.
And I already got mine. So it wasn't even, I got mine to test it.
You just bought yourself the present and we're good.
A while ago.
I am really excited though, because my Oura ring, literally I've been paying attention to the battery life and it's been 2 days. And they tell me that my battery is not broken. And I'm like, how is that a thing?
It will get, that similar thing happened to me. It just got worse and worse and worse until I had to charge it daily. And then they replaced my ring. So I would
they've
say
already replaced mine once.
And then,
I bet they can see like, oh, we already sent her one. We're not going to send her another new one.
They have sent me more than one when I had a default. So I'm on like my third ring and I have only bought one ring.
If I like Whoop better, I'm not going to wear it. I have 3 trackers on right now. I'm not going to continue to wear all 3. I need my Garmin for my runs and like that's that side of things. So we'll see.
I am tempted by the Whoop switch. The only thing that I don't know if Whoop does any cycle stuff, and I have my Oura synced with natural cycles, which I really
That's what I was
like.
Just saying to Josh. So it does track your cycle. I don't know if it will be as in depth and or synced to natural cycles. I haven't looked into it yet. I just put it on my wrist, but hopefully Josh will also nuke his sperm.
I was going to say, I technically don't need the cycle tracking.
Yeah, you probably are okay
if I'm ovulating, but it's more like I still like to know like where I am and when I'm going to get my period and things like that. But
yeah. No, I think it does like the basic stuff. I just don't know if it's as like in depth as natural cycles with like the chart and stuff, which I guess you don't need, but we also don't need another baby right now or ever. Maybe. I'm not sure yet.
I would probably cry. I think my tear ducts would fix themselves, and I would probably cry. I couldn't do this.
We're
again
just
right
not
now.
at the not right now.
I think that might send us over.
3 under 3.
I did have a dream the other day that I was 28 weeks pregnant, and I was like, wow, I made it through the whole first and second trimester without even knowing. And then I was like, it must be a boy because I didn't even throw up. It's like woke up like, I'm not sure if I'm relieved or excited or how I'm feeling now that I woke up and realized.
So anyway,
back to the Whoop. 2 weeks in, I'm still wearing both Aura and Whoop. I'm trying to compare. A lot of this stuff is very similar, and there's some that are very, very off. Like I'll have, and I don't know how they track the sleep cycles specifically. I assumed it was basically some mechanism of heart rate, but like average heart rate, lowest heart rate, those numbers, those metrics are identical. But there are nights where sleep could be off, total sleep by half an hour, awake time being off most of that chunk. REM and deep tend to be much higher on the Whoop than on the Aura. Like literally an hour and a half to 2.5, close to 3 hours on one versus the other. So almost double. And when it comes to restorative sleep overall, like off by a significant margin, typically over an hour.
Which
in favor.
Have you been able to, based on how you're feeling in the morning when you wake up or how you think you slept, have you been able to identify, I feel like I slept more similarly to what Whoop is saying versus I feel like I slept more similarly to what Aura is saying? Like, has it been consistent enough that you feel like one of them is correct? Or like which one is more correct?
It has not been consistent enough. And there have been nights where like one night it was Aura, like that's on point. One night it was Whoop, like that felt more on point. So like that's what makes me wonder, like what type of algorithms do they use for all these things?
Right.
And is it more or less accurate or just different? Now I have to resync psychologically with, okay, these are the numbers. This is the new baseline we're going off of because it's a new wearable. It's a new tech.
Well, you've only had your Whoop, what, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
So maybe it's still learning.
Got years of data.
Well, it's even as far as the metrics that it's so not even just the trends, but the metrics themselves. Like HRV is much higher on Whoop. It's been going up. It's been going up. What's that?
I switched to Whoop just so I have an artificially inflated HRV.
Yeah, just jumps up. I will say my HRV has been trending up on Aura as well, but it is like 10 higher on Whoop in general, like across the board. Resting heart rate is on point, which confuses me because if heart rate is translating accurately to both, why is HRV showing so much
different?
Yeah.
I do wonder, to Whoop's credit, I would have to imagine that you get a better reading on a wrist than a finger.
I agree.
And I say this as someone who loves Aura and has been using Aura for years.
Isn't Aura based on light, though? So it's using light to measure certain things, I thought.
But I even think of, like, sometimes like your ring is facing the other way. It moves.
Yeah.
Sometimes
mine moves
it's like
a lot.
the sensors aren't in the right place.
Yep.
Sometimes you wake up and you have like those gaps in your, do you ever see like the gaps in your HRV or heart rate where it's like, oh, it couldn't get a reading during that time.
Right.
So you're like, and my guess is that wouldn't happen as much with Whoop because it seems like it can't move like a watch. Like it's like
not moving around.
place.
No.
Yeah.
It is also much more, I don't know if it's just this specific band. I'll get a couple more. They're expensive. They probably cost them $3, but they'll sell them for 50 to 150.
Yeah, I saw the leather one and I was like $130 for a brown leather band.
You could literally get off Amazon or Alibaba for $4. I'm sure, and they sell them for 50. It's nothing special and fancy, but
it doesn't move and it's comfortable.
It doesn't move. I don't feel it when I'm sleeping or walking around like a watch. So I like that. As far as the metrics themselves, kind of why I made the switch, it does correlate. Like it is more performance based. Where Aura, I would say everyone in the world could benefit from an Aura. It's very lifestyle, general insights, giving you some basic trends. Whereas Whoop is very performance heavy, and I like the strain. I'm still getting used to it all. I will say the interface is a 4 out of 10. Like as far as reading the data, it's bad. It's not horrible, but it's not good. It's just it's all over the place. It's random graphs. You got to scroll a ton to find specific things. You're confused about where certain things are. They have day strain recommendations, and they're very clear. Like the activity strains won't add up to your day strain. It's a different algorithm, different log. So like let's say you have two activities. It was 7 and 7, 7 strain for a run, 7 strain for a lift. Your day strain will not be a 14, which confused me the first time, but they do explain that. But that said, they give you a target day strain based on recovery, based on your trends, but you can't find it anywhere. Like once you click out of it, or if they don't tell you the first thing in that morning, You can't find the recommended day strain anywhere. It literally does not exist. It'll recommend something. The only thing you can find is a recommended activity strain. So you'll open it up and it'll give you a target to hit for a specific activity, but it won't tell you what your recommended day strain is, which is super funky. So as far as like UI, not great. I think Aura knocks it out of the park. It's way more basic and simple and intuitive. I understand that they have a ton of data, but they got to figure out how to organize it better.
We've also become very critical of UI.
I was going to say the same thing.
It's kind of fresh in
UI
our heads.
experts.
Yeah, we are very intrigued by the user experience and features and how easy it is to find things and how much you need to drill into something to get to where you want to be. So you are probably hyper aware of it right now.
I am. I sure am. Well, we'll have more to report back as Alessandra gets used to it and as Joelle converts in 3 weeks after.
I'll be next. These poor listeners who were like, we got them so hooked on Aura, and now we're like, hey, we're gonna go try.
Hey guys, real quick. If you've been listening and thinking, I need to start doing something for my health, but I don't have time for a full program, that is literally why we built the SDE Method app. It's a fitness app made for real people with real lives. Busy parents, working professionals, anyone juggling 100 things. You can get a smart, effective workout in around 30 minutes, some even closer to 20 minutes, and log out knowing you made progress. You can finally take the guessing out of your workouts. We have workouts designed to be done at the gym or at home, and you get access to all of them when you sign up. As life phases change, you can pick a new one that aligns better with what you have going on right now. And one more thing, we are also qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. So just hit the app link in the show notes, start where you are, we'll help with the rest. All right, let's get back to the show.
I think like Josh said, it kind of depends like what you want to use it for.
Yeah.
Like even when I share my Garmin versus Aura, like people ask me all the time, like which one do you think is better? It's not that I think one is better. It just depends what you're looking to use it for. Like I would not use my Aura to track my runs. I'll tell you that right now. So, and I wouldn't wear my Garmin to sleep because it's uncomfortable. So I think there's different strengths each of these wearables has. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted. But can we circle back to Danielle's question?
Yes.
About steps?
Yeah, we're doing a Q&A today.
I think people wanted to hear about the wearables.
No, I agree. I think that was important.
It's a nice little tangent. Why wouldn't you wear the Whoop on the run? It would track it similar.
I didn't say that.
No, she said her Aura wouldn't.
I know. But you said before, like you'll keep wearing the
You
Garmin.
can't see it while you're tracking what the stats are. Like my Garmin tells me my pace.
Like
my Garmin tells me how long I've been running. Like I'm not going to hold my phone out while I'm running.
I was just asking. I bought them both this year. I want you to keep using them. I was just curious.
Remember that time I bought
Yeah, Josh got you the Garmin too.
Birthday.
Yep. Look at that. Okay, so steps. Danielle feels like she can't get enough steps per day despite being a toddler mom. First and foremost, I want you to, I'd be curious what you're tracking your steps on. If you feel like you're doing all these things, like you're running around outside together, you said you're going for walks, you're doing house chores, but you're not hitting at least 10K steps ever, which you don't need to hit 10K. We've talked about this before. 10K is kind of a made up metric that people kind of started saying. Like the threshold is around 7,500 steps per day. More is not bad. Like that's great if you want to shoot for 10K. So I would first be curious how you're tracking those steps. Maybe what you're tracking them on isn't accurate. Like if people use their phone to track and you're not taking your phone every single place you go throughout the day, it's not going to give you an accurate number.
Can we also, she said, I'm just getting started here. When I hear mom say things like I never sit down or I don't have time to slow down, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. If you're not saying those things, like you're doing something very right with parenting. If your toddler is like you're not chasing around 24/7, like you found the cheat code. So let's just start with that and highlight that part.
I was thinking that too.
You don't want to don't compare yourself to other moms first and foremost. Like as we all here can agree, each kid that you have yourselves and each kid in general is different. Like they all have different personalities, temperaments, things that they like to do. Maybe your kid just likes to do things like sitting on the ground with you, and like that's great. I think that's a great way to connect.
Crush snails in front of your face and just stare at you like a serial killer. I don't know what your kid's into.
So don't compare. I was going to say something else. You're not doing anything wrong is what I wanted to say. But I mean, I would be curious to see how you're tracking, and maybe it's just something that you can kind of guide them towards more, like, I don't know how long your walks are. I don't know how much are you outside together. Like maybe you just need to do more of those things that are a little bit more active compared to the sitting and playing, which I personally dislike as a mom. Like I don't like just sitting and playing blocks. Like you guys, Kai and Cora, you guys can go do that yourselves. Like when you want to play with me, we can go outside and, I don't know, kick the soccer ball, go for a walk, like do more active things. Like that's just what I like to do. And it's okay to not like doing every single activity with your kids too. I think a lot of moms get caught up in like, I have to pretend play with them. I have to do all of these things with them. And that's fine if you want to. I'm not saying don't, but don't feel like you have to do every single thing with them either.
Yes.
Independent
also
time.
Perks of siblings right now is just like that they're starting to play with each other more now, which is great. Go play with your sister. Mom, can you do this? No.
I think that's the biggest difference. Like with Kai, I think Danielle, if I remember correctly, you have one kid and you're pregnant with your second, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but with Kai, like we would constantly feel like we had to entertain him. Like it was always Josh with him or me with him or both of us with him, and he had everyone's full attention all the time. Now that we have Cora, it can't be like that. Like, and especially with how our setup is currently. So I think there is a different dynamic with each kid too. Like if you have one kid versus multiple kids.
Joelle just realized I trimmed my beard, and I didn't know that Riverside had a chat function.
I know.
We've
I tried
had
it for the first
11
time.
conversations since I trimmed my beard.
I don't see a chat. Oh, there it is. I'm like, why didn't I get the chat?
I don't. It said something about a live chat, and then there was like, oh, there's a host chat. And when did you trim your beard?
Over the weekend? No, it was over the weekend.
So I saw you yesterday, and I didn't notice.
It's been a few, and we were on calls all day yesterday.
I was just looking at you in Riverside. I'm like, why does he look different today? And I'm like, big beard's gone.
It's all gone. Madison says, I recently joined a new gym and only have a standard 45-pound barbell. I'm used to deadlifting with a 35-pound thinner barbell. Cannot do nearly as much weight with a thicker barbell. Any tips? Thanks. Also eager to hear more about Project B. Hee hee. There'll be no more Project B updates today.
You can go to Josh's post and see all the wrong answers that people commented that Project B is not. That was pretty funny to read through.
And you'll also get a chance to be in the first round of beta, which should be in the next week or so.
Okay.
Barbell, thin barbell.
Barbell.
Strap it up.
I think it's
barbell.
It's
She's saying mostly because her grip, I think.
If you're a female, your hands are smaller.
Yeah.
That's
and if you're used to using a 35-pound barbell and you're not typically adding weight to that, and now you're trying to use a 45-pound barbell, it's 10 more pounds. Like it's going to feel like a lot. Obviously, if the grip is not an issue and you're just talking about the weights, then, if you were going to throw two 45-pound plates on the bar, like you'll put on 35s and technically 40 pounds because you're making up for that 10 pounds. But someone else had said like you could use Versa straps if the hand, she was saying like her hands are small and the bar is thicker, and so she can't grip the bar as well. So something like Versa grips or straps can be helpful. And there's obviously, a ton of other exercises that you could do to help your grip strength. Your hands are smaller, but I promise you can still hold a 45-pound barbell, but you might need to work up to that.
You guys don't deadlift with fat grips on?
Definitely not.
I was going to say, though, I think it is just like something you have to get used to because we have both. We have a women's Olympic lifting bar that from my days when I tried Olympic lifting. And it is a noticeable difference for me too. I have small hands. I deadlift with a normal barbell most of the time, but when if Josh is using that one, I'll use the 35-pound one, and it is a noticeable difference for me. That one feels worse. It's almost like it takes up less space. Like if I'm benching with that one, it feels really wobbly. It takes up like less space on my hand, so it feels just like not stable.
Less stable.
Yeah. So I think it is just something that you might have to practice and get used to because your body is probably just used to that smaller grip.
Amanda asks, mom of 2 toddlers here, getting my 4 days of strength in a week and averaging 12 a day. Struggling to get time away for dedicated cardio and want to start saving for a piece of equipment. Is the Peloton worth the hype? And more important, More importantly, the penny.
I'm an avid Peloton user and I love it. And for me, it is extremely convenient. And if I did not have a cardio machine in my own house, I can 100% attest to the fact that I would not be doing cardio as much as I currently do. Because I likely am not going to go like leave my family on a weekend or on a rest day to go to the gym to go do cardio. And so that was when I was like, I think I'm going to get a piece of equipment in the house, and I really like spin, and I would love to go to a spin class all the time, but I don't really have the time to do that, nor do I want another thing to like have to work into my schedule. I'd rather have it in my basement and know, oh, I could just shoot down into the basement for 20 minutes or 15 minutes and get in a quick hit ride. So for me, it's worth it because I've been more consistent with cardio, like actual structured cardio and not just steps. I've been more consistent with it probably than I ever have been with actually sticking to doing cardio. So for me, worth the hype. But if you don't like spin or you don't like biking, you've never been to a spin class, like that might not be the first route that I would go. I think you have to know if you like that style of cardio first.
We got jammed up the other day and I was going to do cardio, ran out of time. We were going for a walk and I threw the weighted vest on. We have a 60-pound weighted vest. So I think having those little tools in the background as well can save a ton of money. And if you're noticing like you just don't have the time, it doesn't have to be a 60-pound vest. You can get an actual ruck pack or 20 pounds, 25 pounds and take a longer walk, find some hills and combine that. And a lot of times with that, like you get to do the family time and get your cardio in.
Yeah, I'm team running, obviously, as most of you know. So the Peloton was great during pregnancy and like earlier postpartum, but we really don't. You use it more than I do. We don't have our memberships anymore. Josh canceled them for the third time.
She begs to get it back and then used it once over 3.5 weeks. I'm like, nope.
Well, then I started running.
Also,
I started running again.
You can also, for the record, get a Peloton like membership subscription. Get a regular spin bike. And you can pull it up on your like YouTube, computer, iPad, and stream the classes right from your iPad and like just put that up on your spin bike or
I'm
stationary
so
bike.
I prefer just the stats with no class. I ride with the black screen and I just want to see the stats.
I think it just depends what you enjoy.
That's where Cora gets her psycho behavior from. It's you. We found the culprit. It's nothing you're doing wrong, Alessandra. It's just Josh is a psycho, and so
I could not do that. I need like if I'm cycling, I need someone to tell me what to do for cycling. Yes. Running, yeah, sure, I can go for a run and just stare at the wall or out the window. But like,
give me 5 miles and tell me how fast to pedal, and I'm just going. Listen to a podcast.
The only other thing that I will add too is I think we sometimes stress about like, how am I going to, like, I'm already busy. I have kids. I'm doing the strength training. I'm getting the steps in. How am I first going to now add more cardio to my schedule? I think that can feel really daunting and overwhelming until you remember, like, it could be a 10-minute session. It could be a 5-minute session. Do 5 minutes of sprints, do 10 minutes or 15 minutes on the Peloton bike, and pick a HIIT class. Like, it does not have to be an hour long session that you have to work into your schedule.
I'm going to tie this back to the whoop for 1 second because I forgot one thing I wanted to bring up, but it does come into this. If your cardiovascular health is already in a great place, like you're getting 12,500 steps per day, like you're probably in zone 1, maybe touching zone 2 if some of those are longer walks with the kids, pushing a stroller. Like you might be in a good place and it doesn't necessarily need to be something you force in. You do want some dedicated cardio for sure, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a big lift and shift in your schedule. One reason, like I'm trying to make more of an effort personally, is because I don't have optimal cardiovascular health, which is why I did make the switch to Whoop. I don't know how they do it, how accurate it is going manual versus Whoop. It was pretty close, but they do the daily blood pressure, and then they'll give you like a Whoop age, like your estimated biological age and rate of aging. And cardio is definitely my weak point.
It knows your blood pressure on Whoop?
Yep.
The new ones,
I don't know. There has to be the Whoop MG, the life membership. The life membership is like $100 more.
Your wrist to take it,
no,
does it?
Nope, it doesn't.
Does it do that?
But it's have wild. A cuff, and you regularly check your blood pressure. And
yep, and you do have to sync it. So I did the first few manually, and then it uses that to go off of. I haven't done them like in real time back and forth since then, but I do want to keep rechecking that. It was close. I don't know if it was just going off that because of my baseline.
I could bring my cuff and my stethoscope this weekend if you want me to take a real blood pressure.
No, I have one. I have a real one. It's the Omron, the one the doctors recommend.
Like the automatic one?
I know you want to play doctor, but I'm good. Thank you.
They're pretty accurate. I always like taking it manually.
I think you have to bring it now, and we'll make sure we update everybody.
Yeah, we'll just confirm.
Let's confirm. Let's go data versus data, manual data versus automatic.
Versus digital somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, digital versus Whoop.
They do explain how to do it. I forgot what they said. Tyra says, I'm 13 weeks pregnant. My sleep has been terrible. I haven't changed anything. I eat dinner about 3-ish hours before bed. Nice job. I limit screen time before bed. I usually read for about a half an hour. I did all these things before I got pregnant, and I used to have amazing sleep, 2 or more hours of combined REM and deep. Now I don't even get an hour. Any tips, or is this just normal in pregnancy and I have to suffer through?
I'm going to hold your hand, Tyra, when I say this. It just sucks during pregnancy.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to get better until after. I am team newborn sleep over pregnancy sleep. Like, as much as newborn life is crazy and like you're recovering and all that, I still think it's so much better than pregnancy sleep personally. But everybody kind of has their own opinion. It sounds like you're doing all the right things, which is what we would recommend. Like, check in with your sleep hygiene. Just make sure every possible thing is in place with that. And aside from that, there's not much else that's going to help with that, unfortunately. I know that's not really a great answer, but we keep it real with you.
Brooke asks, first we'll just hit on this real quick. Element links for your affiliate links, do they have to click it every time, or can they click it once? That was the first part.
Well, her question was about for us to get commission every time, but if we're being super honest, we only get commission on first purchases. So I think after your first purchase, it doesn't really matter if you use our links.
All right,
but
fair.
Thank you for wanting us to get commission.
Yeah, we do appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
Favorite flavor? I think we hit on this quickly last episode.
Yeah.
Grapefruit
for me. Grapefruit for me is number 1. Lemon is number 2 right now for me.
I'm loving the lemonade hard right now. It's the most subtle flavor, I feel like.
Have you mixed the lemonade with raspberry?
I love it. I love it too much to fuck with it. I like
raspberry though. Raspberry is probably my 3rd spot.
Yeah, that's my 2nd, I think.
I got out of the sauna the other night and I was just craving lemonade. I did a bunch of ice cubes. I usually drink it like room temperature is how I prefer my water. I was craving a cold lemonade, and it was like, literally, it wasn't even salt. It doesn't taste salty to me. It tastes like a delicious lemonade.
It's the least salty tasting flavor for sure.
That's probably helpful for people to know, because Element is one of the saltier electrolyte drinks out there, I think.
Yeah.
And some people dislike that. I swear I read somewhere, maybe it was you, Joelle. Isn't there some correlation between how salty you taste it? Yeah. What is it? I forget I don't know if it was you that said that, but
I thought that it was, if there was something like that I think is like the saltier it tastes, the more dehydrated you are.
You need more salt in general. Like people who are regularly hydrated and have correct optimal levels of sodium taste less salt compared to people who don't.
I remember hearing that somewhere. I will have to fact check that before anyone takes that as gospel.
You're the one who told us that. You're the gospel.
I remember reading it somewhere, but
I'm positive it was Joelle.
I remember reading it somewhere, but it's not a fact that I've
recently talked about.
Yeah, recently.
Well, you're just sharing us unfact-checked advice?
No, I'm just saying. I don't think I shared it on the podcast because I don't even remember.
It wasn't on the podcast.
So I probably just shared it with you guys.
Personally. I'm offended on a personal level.
I think there's some sort of correlation between how salty something is and how hydrated you are, but I don't know. I'll have to fact check what the actual thing is.
We'll bring it back next week. Don't worry.
All right. Second part of Brooke's post here. Building off of our sugar diet episode. Not a question. Wanted to share some anecdotal evidence for you all. Listen to most of that podcast. Medical medium preaches a diet like that. He's a medium, so that should be the first red flag. But my mom and I got sucked in for a few years. It took a while for the negative impacts to show, but my nails and my hair thinned. They were brittle. My triglycerides and cholesterol got scary low. Anxiety was out of control. Muscles were achy. Muscle mass was lost. Weighed 10 pounds less, but body composition was terrible as compared to 10 pounds heavier. Hope that helps anyone who's thinking about trying the low-protein diet. There you go.
We love to hear that, but that was who, Brooke?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
He has done so much damage. What you're
And he just
describing, Brooke, is not uncommon. He's the celery juice guy who had people like eat, sleeping, breathing celery juice.
Mark was?
And what?
Mark was?
That's not Mark
Medical
Hyman.
medium. No, that's not Mark Hyman. Medical medium's a different guy.
Medical medium. I thought we were talking about the sugar diet. Oh, this guy was slinging. We were talking about Mark Bell. So I didn't know if that's what.
Oh, yeah, no. The medical medium is like a person. That's his Instagram name.
I don't remember what his actual name is.
There's not many.
The celery juice guy. And
yeah,
that is not the first time that I've heard some really awful stories about people taking his advice and not having a good time with their health.
Well, the good news is you're on the other side of it, Brooke.
I like Mark Hyman. I know he had a sketchy reputation. I've heard from a few people, but I take everything in context. Granted, like I'll apply things sometimes with a grain of salt, and sometimes like, oh, that makes some sense. But for the most part, I don't mind Mark Hyman. I don't know why he has such a bad rap.
He's up there with Gary Brecka for me. Not
really that high.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right. Sarah says, I work with an older population and teach a program called Healthy Bones. It is a time under tension based workout followed by an education piece. The other day, I wanted to talk about bone density, and I was doing some research on nutrition needs for bone health. We talk about how important protein is for maintaining muscle mass, and just a lot of research saying, did I skip that? Oh, and just function for maintaining independence and lifestyle as we get older. But I was finding a lot of research saying certain amounts of protein could be less beneficial for bone health. Wanted to see if you all could shed more light on this topic. Thank you.
I've never seen that.
There's some older research, and it has more to do with calcium excretion because protein does increase calcium excretion, but it also does help to increase calcium absorption in the gut. So the net balance actually isn't harmful. It's actually still shown higher protein intake is associated with better bone health when it comes to adequate calcium intake. So I think the misconception and the issue could be coming from if they're not consuming enough calcium, then obviously if we're excreting more, we're not taking in enough. It doesn't matter if we're absorbing it better because it's just not coming in. So at the end of the day, it really just kind of circled back to like they're both essential. You need protein, you need calcium. If you have both of those in balance, it's not going to be the issue that some people were finding. It's just the singular metric that kind of got pulled a bit out of context. They didn't circle back and provide that additional context. So better absorption, more excretion should be a net neutral when it comes to calcium specifically, and protein is going to be beneficial overall for optimizing bone health.
The other thing that I think is helpful in older populations is vitamin D, which we do need for calcium absorption to that point, and also really helpful for maintaining bone density and strength. Obviously, we want strong bones for as long as we can. So yes, that calcium is important, but we need that vitamin D to absorb calcium. So vitamin D supplementation can be helpful in older populations as well for muscle and bone related health issues.
Fun question. Favorite fiction books? Trying to read more before bed, Ashley says. And instead of scrolling, would love to hear what you guys read for fun.
I don't read for fun.
I probably am the only one here that reads for fun.
I enjoy reading, but it's all nonfiction, personal development, or business.
Yeah, same. Well, I don't really enjoy reading.
I love it. Puts me right
if I do read, it's like personal development or nonfiction or parenting books on how to not raise a psychopath.
That was me for so long, and then I needed to, I think I started reading fiction to shut my work brain off at night, but now I'm getting back into more of the personal development type books before bed. The issue is I've read so many that I couldn't even tell you, I don't remember the titles of them. I just read them. Is that weird?
She's into that erotic stuff.
No, not even that stuff lately. I haven't even been reading any of that lately. Yeah.
Lately. You like the smut?
Colleen,
she's got the series.
I do. I've read. Yeah, I've read some of them, but I don't know. I'm not into it right now. I cycled through phases of what I like when it comes to fiction, and I'm reading a lot of cutesy notebook style summer love stories. I literally could not tell you a name of one book right now, so I'm not very helpful here.
Say, I will toggle. So in the personal development category, I will toggle craving more story than story inspiration. So
yeah, storytelling.
So I'm still not talking about fiction. I'm talking about for
Yeah, I
example,
know.
the comfort crisis, to kind of throw that out there, where he's telling his story about the adventures he went on to test these things and to drive his body and to like things like that. And then you've got like Cam Hanes. I just finished his second book. I didn't read his first one, which was Endure, which was the bestseller. This one was, I think, Undeniable, and it was basically like a series of stories. His podcast guests, like you've got Nick Bear, and then some ultra runners, Courtney DeWalter, and some people he's had over for, he does the lift, run, shoot. So they'll work out, they'll go for like a 20-mile run or hike, and then they'll podcast and they'll shoot bow and arrow and whatever. But like, I'll go into those, like if I want to separate a little bit, like, okay, I don't want to learn the 10 specific habits to do X, Y, or Z, or optimizing business strategy. Like, talk to me a little bit about something that's going to motivate, inspire me, and like go through this story. Those are the ones that I kind of lean into. David Goggins.
Yeah. Comfort Crisis was a good one that had a lot of storytelling in it. But yeah, I agree. Like, I can read something like that before bed, but if you're giving me like a manual of like business and like really intense stuff, like I can't do that before bed.
The only problem is then I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay, let's do this tomorrow. We're going to write this. We're going to apply this. We're going to put this into the marketing stuff and da, 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 da. And then my wheels start turning. I'm like, okay, I got to put this one down and pick up the other one and start reading about, you know, the Shaolin lifestyle and Buddhism and Taoism.
Anywho.
Vicky says, absolutely loving Postpartum forever. Thank you for writing it and for the real, relatable examples you set for getting back to exercise after baby. Now that I'm 8 weeks postpartum, I'd love to get 1 to 2 Peloton rides back into my rotation. Do you have any recommendations for how to incorporate that alongside Postpartum forever? Not necessarily scheduling, but more type and duration of ride. And these are app programs Nikki is referring to for those of you who are not sure what she's talking about.
Joel, you're probably more versed in like what types of Peloton workouts there are. So I would just say like steer clear of the high intensity stuff as you're easing back in. But maybe, I don't know if you have examples of like certain classes you might recommend.
Yeah, so I definitely have a few favorite instructors. So I will filter my rides by the instructors I like first and then choose from there. But you can filter rides by time. You could filter rides by intensity, by instructor. So if you want a 5-minute ride, you can select that. Sometimes they'll have like 5-minute cool down rides. They'll have 10-minute low impact rides. That's probably a really good place to start. When I first started on the Peloton, granted, I was not 8 weeks postpartum, but when I started on the Peloton, I eased in like real slow. I started with 10 to 15-minute rides. And even still now, I mostly do 20 to 30-minute rides. I don't think I've ever done like a 45-minute ride or an hour-long ride. For me, they're typically between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on if I'm trying to keep it shorter, more intense interval training versus like a more zone 2E type of ride that I might do for a 30-minute ride. But you definitely have a lot of options in terms of starting with a 5 or 10-minute ride, a 15-minute ride. You can select HIIT versus like intervals versus low impact is typically what they'll call like a not very heavy ride. There's also beginner rides. So you can filter by a beginner ride and select like first ride, beginner ride. So I would just filter them that way. And if you want some favorite trainer recommendations, I do like the more intense trainers. So that might not be a great place to start, but I would filter by time and intensity first, and then start to figure out, try a bunch of different instructors, see who you like, and then you might end up sticking with those people. You could also filter by the type of music, which is cool.
I didn't know that. That is cool. But keep in mind too, you're still so early. 8 weeks is so early postpartum. So your mind might be wanting to do more than your body is ready for.
Yes.
So keep that in mind as you're choosing your classes. You might like jump in and see like all these fun ones that you might want to do. Save them for later. Start slow. Ease in. I promise you that is the way.
Jordan asks, what's the fitness/lifestyle advice that someone gave you that stuck with you?
We had a hard time with this one.
This one's tough. I will say, like, in our scenario, like this kind of being our wheelhouse, I feel like specifically the fitness, the lifestyle stuff are things that we do a lot of trial and error on personally. And someone might say something, but we don't just take it to heart because someone said so. Like if we apply it, we notice a difference, we'll keep it. If we try it or say like, that's just not for me, then we just kind of dismiss it and keep moving forward. So it's just this constant self-study of what works, what doesn't, what's been noticeable, what's been marginal, what's worth the effort, what's not worth the effort. I would say when it comes to lifestyle, and this is going to sound so fucking corny, but this is like the one thing that I will say has stuck with me for life, and it's served us very well, obviously. But just growing up, having great parents and them explaining like you can literally do anything you set your mind to. And they would even go as far as to say, like, when I was sick, when something was hurt, like mind over matter, you can use your mind to resolve these things. And there actually is data coming out that is proving that to be correct in some miraculous ways. In one of the most basic ones, and like we'll circle away from the woo-woo stuff, which I still enjoy. But I think it was Huberman I found in my feed the other day talking about these studies done on field mice. One, they would just scatter treadmills throughout these fields. And these in the middle of the night, these mice would run out and they'd find the treadmill. They just love to run. They get the dopamine hit, whatever else is doing for them, like they just do it. And they would enjoy doing that. They'd see the physical benefits, the health benefits from doing the treadmill. They did another in-lab study where one of those got to go on whenever it wanted, but it was also connected to another treadmill, another wheel that a mouse was forced on. And the mouse that was forced upon that didn't actually get the benefits of the health and the fitness improvements because it was more so perceived as like this stress, I have to do this. The mindset, this is specifically from a mouse in this specific study, the one that wanted to do it saw the improvements in health markers. The one that was forced to do it and didn't see the benefit of it did not see it. It was just this state of stress while it was forced on that treadmill. The mind is an unbelievably powerful thing. And we are just scraping the surface of like how much we can do with this and like just mechanistically how we view something. When it comes to hormetic stress, to bring it back into humans, if you just get thrown into, I'm going to bring back the ice baths. If you get thrown into this frozen lake and you are stuck in there for a minute and you come out, you will have absolutely no benefit in any capacity whatsoever. Versus strategically choosing to hop into that frozen lake. Hey, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna do the same thing, dive right in there, but I'm doing this because I'm gonna feel great when I get out. You will feel better.
Joelle disagrees with you.
I know she disagrees with me, and I'm using this again as an extreme example. There are things that are far more applicable to the masses.
Look, the ice bath is particularly not my thing, but I can understand the mental toughness side of this is going to suck and I'm going to do it anyway. Like that part resonates with me. It won't convince me to do an ice plunge because there's plenty of other, Josh, you described it yesterday on our podcast as like micro sucks. There are plenty of other micro sucks that I have in my day that I have to do anyway, that I don't want to do, that like, I don't feel like I need that in cold plunging, but that does resonate with me. Like the idea of this is going to suck, I'm going to do it anyway. There is something really impactful about that and really good for your brain, like we talked about on yesterday's episode. So that part I get.
For those who didn't listen, I didn't coin that. That was another Huberman micro suck, macro suck. That was from Dr. Hubbs.
But that's what it is.
Yes.
That is what we're talking about. It's a micro suck and you're forcing yourself to do it anyway. And you come out feeling more resilient and like, wow, I can conquer the day now. I did something really hard. I chose hard. And we know that like, do it anyway, do it tired, choose hard. Like those are all mantras that really resonate with us. Obviously how we apply those might be different, but.
More woo-woo outside of this mental resilience. Like you'll hear stories and there have been documentaries and things like that about people meditating on a serious injury or on an illness and visualizing their body healing that and believing that that thing was going to be overcome. And that happened. What's the book we have upstairs?
Well, I was going to say.
It's literally, I want to throw one more at you because this one blows my mind. There was this, I think it was a TV show in Europe or something like that, where everyone had some specific illness and they believed that it was real. And they actually got sick. People actually died from it. This is similar to like even people getting exiled and like voodooed from the witch doctor they live with. And like, okay, you've got this curse. And they actually die from no physical cause. Just they believe they're going to die and they just die. Same thing with this illness from this TV show they were talking about in the book. I'm not going to give you specifics because I don't remember, so I'm not going to even try. But they believed they were going to be sick. And they actually, what's up?
Hello.
What's up, crazy baby?
Hi.
Got a special guest.
Hi, Reese.
Essentially positive or negative.
You hear what she just said?
What'd she say?
You pushed a baby?
Babies?
Oh, no,
on
Reese.
the swing, right? You pushed
babies?
it on the swing, Reese?
Do you push babies at the library?
Yeah.
That's not
Oh,
nice.
no.
We don't want to push babies. That's not
Are
nice.
you going to push Cora this weekend?
No.
Of course
No
not.
pushing babies.
Cutie.
Well, I was going to say, just going off on that tangent, I think that can be applied to birth, Joelle. As somebody who's had an unmedicated birth, how much of it is mindset?
It's literally 100% mindset.
So I think that's a great parallel there.
What you believe will happen.
An unmedicated birth. I think that's why cold plunges don't do it for me on the mental toughness side of things.
You think that's easier than having a baby? Come on.
I think that there is nothing that will ever top the.
That was a joke for everyone out there who's punching their screens.
Everybody out there is going to cancel
Nothing
Josh.
will ever top the pure mental tug of war of an unmedicated birth. Because you are just, you're just in a zone. In a zone, and just you want to die, and then now you're like, I want to do it again. The brain is weird. The brain is really, really weird. And the maternal brain is even weirder because like when you're in labor and you're like, this is the worst thing ever. And then when it's done, you're like, oh my God, that was the coolest thing ever. That was the best thing ever. I can't wait to.
Isn't it wild? Like,
what the fuck is that?
I don't know.
I love labor and delivery. I'm one of those freaks. So.
Yeah. And you want to get on me about cold plunges. You love labor and delivery. That's a little weirder.
It's twofold. One, I love proving to myself that I could do something really hard. And two, you got a baby at the end of it. Like, you've worked so hard and you have gone through a miserable 10 months, all for that culminating event, like for that moment. So then you meet your baby and you're like, literally nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Weird.
Listen, if you're tired of the all or nothing cycles, the diet starts Monday, the I know what to do, I'm just not doing it feeling, we should probably talk. Our one-on-one online coaching isn't just about workouts and meal plans. It's about building something that actually fits your life. No cookie cutter templates, no guilt, just real coaching and real results. Plus, we've got a pretty big team, so we can even pair you with an expert who actually understands your lifestyle because they've gone through it too. If that sounds like what you've been missing, check out the link in the show notes to apply for coaching. Then we'll send you the link to book a free, no-obligation consult call with our team. There are no hard closes. We won't even take your credit card over the phone. You'll get the details to sign up on your own time. And more good news, we are in fact qualified for HSA FSA reimbursement. One last thing, we even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. What are you waiting for? Spots are limited, so apply today. All right, let's get back to the show. Says she recently did a leg day at 6:30 a.m. and then did HIIT sprints on my lunch break. I did my leg day fasted, but ate post-workout meal at around 7:45. Ate pre-workout carbs before my HIIT session around noon. On my slow run back home after the 5:30 seconds intervals of sprints, 1.5 minutes of rest, I had really bad cramping in my quads, just above my knee. I have never experienced this before and often combine leg day with HIIT with a 4 to 5 hour gap between sessions. Any idea what caused these cramps and why, or what I can do to prevent reoccurrence? Scared to do sprints again now.
My initial thought is some type of electrolyte imbalance, whether it's sodium or potassium potentially. I'm not sure if you had or have electrolytes regularly. That's where my mind goes first. Do you guys think otherwise?
I'm just reading your question. Is it a leg day?
What'd you say, her quads?
Quad right above the knee, really bad cramping.
It was her quad, and we also had a leg day right before. Those hit.
Well, 4 to 5 hour gap.
Same day. Okay, so it was later, not same session, but same day. Might have just been that like your quads were really tight, really tired already.
Did she mention if she was running downhill at all? Up doing hill sprints?
She didn't mention.
Because if you're running downhill, your quads are gonna. That's all quads.
She said on her slow run back home after the 5 30-second intervals of sprints, she had really bad cramping in her quads.
So if you're running downhill at all, that could be why.
Yeah, I would also say it might be maybe play around with not having those on your leg days. Play around with not having the sprints on your leg days. I know
she said she's done it before though.
Well, then maybe it was just a one-off.
She could try. Yeah. I mean, if it's happening regularly, then try putting it on a different day. Make sure
she might have changed the meal to your point. If she had a different meal that day and it was, again, imbalanced, or if she was particularly pushing harder on that leg day before the sprints.
Yeah. I think it's hard to know what the possible cause is if it only happens once. If it's a trend, different story. So I wouldn't let it deter you. I would keep doing it. And if it continues to happen, then you might have some more things you'll be able to pinpoint.
Trial and error, be your own study, take notes, take the data, evaluate the data. Rebecca asks, progressive overload explained, please.
That's the whole question.
There's some stuff on the background, and I'll dive into the second part, but that's the
progressive overload explained. Okay, so progressive overload is the byproduct. It is not the way to train. I think that's something very common misconception. People think like, oh, I'll train with progressive overload, or like the style of training that I'm doing is progressive overload. It's not a training style. It's the result of your body adapting to a stimulus. So there are a few different ways to achieve progressive overload as your outcome. And that is the goal, in the sense that you want to be able to do more reps next time, or do an extra set next time, or have better range of motion next time, or have a slower tempo next time. Those are all examples of you provided your body with a stimulus, you recovered from that stimulus, you adapted to that stimulus, and now that muscle can handle a higher load, or more stretch, or more reps, or better endurance, etc. So the goal is to achieve progressive overload. If I do 15-pound bicep curls this week for 8 reps, and next week I could do 20-pound bicep curls for 8 reps, I have achieved progressive overload. Does that make sense?
I think that's, yes.
Sure
and I
does.
think that's a great point, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to follow this progressive overload program and increase my weights every week for the rest of eternity. And if we could do that, we would all be much, much stronger than we all are right now. So it's not just weight. There are many ways to implement this. Do you want to go touch on the second part of your question? Because I think that was relevant too.
It's the answer. How do you know it's a good workout? It's if you're seeing progressive overload over time. Plain and simple. And, you have to notice the red flags as far as, should I be doing this workout? You're using the move plan, so you're in a good place. It's just going to be, as far as individuality and specificities for you personally, volume adjustments potentially, because the app is general programming. It's going to work for most of the masses, but there could be some things we can fine tune, which is why we offer coaching, or you fine tune that obviously as you do it on your own. But tip number one, most important tip on knowing how to know if it's a good workout, is if you're seeing progressive overload. If you're not, then it's not. Or you're not pushing yourself hard enough. That's another thing too. It's just being honest with yourself on intensity.
Yeah, that's the other part I was going to say. The workouts should be intense enough that you're not wondering if you had a good workout when you finished. Because what's programmed is effective and efficient. So if you're not feeling like it was a good workout when you're done, we might not have pushed ourselves hard enough, or done heavy enough weight, or slow enough tempo. And then, like we said before, if you are progressing through that and you're tracking and logging your weights in the app, and you're seeing that the next week you could do an extra rep or extra weight, you're having good workouts and you're achieving what you're supposed to be achieving.
And don't get good workouts confused with, I should be sweating more, I should be out of breath, I should have a higher heart rate, I should
be more sore tomorrow.
Yeah, like you don't want to feel completely like death after every session, but you should be able to feel some sort of progress. And I don't know if it was her question, my phone died, but did she say something about like feeling the burn, or like getting a pump or something? Like that's also like, you don't need to feel the burn of every muscle that you worked in that workout for it to be a good workout too. I think that's a very important misconception that people have, is that they need to feel the burn and get this good pump for muscles to be able to grow. And that's just not true.
Yep. And he said, I'm someone who has had an unhealthy relationship with tracking calories in the past, mostly in college. I'm 34 now. I became obsessed with tracking and food in general, where it was all I could think about, which then led to a really unhealthy relationship with food. That took a couple years of really hard work to heal. The good relationship with food lasted for about 5 years, and then I had 2 babies back to back. I'd really like to lose some of the weight I put on with my pregnancies and the overall adjustment to mom life. I know that tracking calories and macros is the best way to go, but I'm super hesitant to track because of what it did with my relationship with food in the past. Any tips to help with this? Also, any advice on a beginner tracking macros in general?
Just because it was a bad experience before doesn't mean it has to be that way this time. It's not that tracking macros is the issue. It's how you went about it that likely was the problem and was maybe you approached it. This is what we see often is people approach tracking like a fad diet. So it's either one track every morsel 100% of the time or you failed. And that's not how we educate our clients on it. That's not how we go about it. You need to use tracking as a tool to kind of just check in with yourself, see where you're at, and eventually get you back to the place where you can eat in a way that is very similar to how you eat when you're tracking, but you don't need to use the food scale. You don't need to use the app all the time to track it. When it comes to fat loss, is tracking and being very adherent to what you're consuming going to get you the fastest, most efficient progress? For most people, probably. So I wouldn't write it off completely. We do have the free macro guide download on our website that you can kind of use to figure out where your starting macro should be. Other than that, I would say just approach it very almost loosely. Track consistently everything that you eat for maybe a week or two, just to kind of get a good baseline. And then you could even, scale back to just tracking and not weighing things out, or maybe you track 6 out of 7 days per week and have one day where you don't track, but kind of use that practice to eat in a way that is mindful. That would be my piece of advice. What do you guys have outside of that?
Yeah, I think you don't have to track. I think it's typically the more efficient route, but I like that you touched on there's a lot of different ways to track. We don't have to track every single macro. We don't have to track down to the last gram. Maybe we're just tracking protein and calories and letting fats and carbs fall where they may. Maybe we're tracking in macro ranges so that we don't feel as restricted within those numbers. It sounds like you had babies, you're wanting to, you've lost some weight, you're wanting to improve body composition overall. To me, that doesn't scream like, hey, we need to be as strict as possible, as soon as possible, lose the weight as quick as possible. So it sounds like to me, you already are approaching this in a healthier place. That said, if you're that afraid to track, you don't have to track at all. It could be helpful from an awareness standpoint, not necessarily to track your entire deficit, but track how much you're currently consuming so that you're aware of your starting point. So I would always recommend, if we are going to potentially start a dieting phase with or without tracking, can we at least pop into a food tracking app and see where we're currently at? How many calories are we currently consuming? Roughly, where are we ending up in protein? Where are we roughly ending up in fiber? When we're not trying to change anything, just where are we currently landing? And if you realize, oh, I'm eating 2,800 calories a day. So even if I can, subtract 500 calories from that and be down to 2,300 calories per day, I'll probably land myself in a deficit. I think that you likely, based on your experience and having some background with nutrition and tracking in the past, you likely have a good idea of where you could bring those calories or where you can make portion changes to adjust for that deficit. So I think first and foremost is knowing how much you're currently consuming and then adjusting from there, whether you decide to track macros or not.
I would also say I think so many people could benefit, especially if you're in this situation where you're not really all in on tracking. Go 1 week eating nothing but whole foods. I know, what about moderation? Well, if you want to lose weight and you don't want to track, let's pick our battles. Eat literally nothing but whole foods. Prioritize protein, prioritize your colors, your plants. Don't think about tracking, don't think about weighing, don't think about pulling up the apps. Just eat whole foods for 1 week. See how you feel. See if the scale starts trending down. If you can go another 3 days, another week to make it 2 full weeks. See what that's doing and roll with that. There is such an immediate difference. Because I do the same thing. I'll go through periods. I'm like, I do not want to track. I know I can clean up my diet. I'm going to focus on that. I'm not even eating and leaving a little bit in the tank, where typically I'd go, intuitive route. Am I a little bit hungry? Stop eating there. I'll eat until I'm full with literally nothing but whole foods. And I will see within a couple weeks, and I'm fairly lean at this point. I will notice a difference within a week, within 2 weeks, within a month. It's night and day. And then at that point, if you want to start mixing in some things in moderation and start, testing your quote unquote willpower, are you good with that? Can you actually truly eat in moderation, actual moderation? Start playing with that. But it's such a game changer. It's so basic, like whole foods. And that's become a trigger for a lot of people, and it shouldn't be.
That same Annie also just asked, I'd love to see Muscle Mommy Program Home Edition. Any plans on doing one, Joelle? Maybe.
I feel like that'd be very similar to build. You know, but also you could probably fairly easily make Muscle Mommy.
Build is also 4 days?
Build is 4 days with an optional 5th.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Where can they find you?
I'm at Alessandra Skutnik.
At Joelle Samantha.
Josh Skutnik, and everything else is linked in the show notes.